Okay. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
We're looking to keep us on schedule tonight because this is being streamed to the public. I just want to, you guys all have an agenda in front of you. So obviously you guys can do the first thing is introductions. I'm Rose Mulvaney Henry. I am currently reminder, put your phones on silent if you haven't already. I'm trying to. I know.
Where is there an agenda somewhere? Sorry, I
Sure.
was running my mouth like that.
I'm a member of the BP board, and we have formed this policy committee. Well, it's the pseudo policy committee. We formed this board subcommittee called the Community Engagement Committee, which many of you are familiar with. All of you probably are familiar with because you have applied to be community ambassadors and were chosen to do so. So we've got two other board members who are with us this evening. And we'll go around the room and introduce each other as we go, and they'll just go in the order in which we were. So we can start at that end of the room, ma'am. We could.
Michelle Sanders.
Michelle Sanders, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your interest on this to be an ambassador?
I've been a resident of Boyne County since about 1989. And when I heard about this, I was quite thrilled because I like to be engaged in activities and
Awesome, thank you.
I'm Jeff Bryant. I'm board member for the 3rd District, which is everything south of I-70 for the most part, and then Strawberry Hill and Prairie Church.
My name is Mike Castro. My family has lived in Wyandotte County for 55 years. I've been in and out of town for college and for my federal government career, but I'm a retired federal employee, but now I work as a project lead for North Carolina Medicaid, and I'm able to work remotely from here. So my office is in Raleigh, North Carolina, but I'm able to work from my home near the Speedway. And I've always wanted to be able to serve the local community here. And when I saw the advertisement for this committee and also for the position as ambassador, I said, this is my opportunity to serve.
I'm Bill Thompson, General Manager, Board of Utilities. Happy to be here. I'm sitting with the board, the conversation that you got.
Rob, I've lived in the county for 23 years. I'm retired now, and it's an opportunity for me to get back in and provide some information.
My name is Mary Gonzalez, and I represent District 1 at large. And I was not born and raised in Wyandotte County, but I always say I got here as soon as I could. And I've served for a long time in this board, and I'm happy that we're starting this community engagement. I'm a retired school teacher, spent most of my career in the Piper School District.
George Scott, I'm a former board member, and right now I'm serving my community neighborhood, Stony Point and Glen, and there's approximately 1,200 homes in there. We meet once a week, or once a month, and try to hear people's problems, work through, and take care of them. I'm Mike Taylor. I'm not an original dot. I always say I'm here by choice. I've been here. I worked with most of you probably know my career at the UG. I the guy that put out all the propaganda, citizen newsletter, all that stuff. I retired 2 years ago, started my own firm called Strategy Consultants, so I do legislative lobbying. Control all kinds of whatever, so. Since I'm now working for myself I wanted to stay engaged in the community, and I saw this as an ideal way to stay engaged.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Chiquita Miller, and I am also a transplant. I'm originally from Georgia and was in the military at Fort Riley. So that's how I ended up there, and then went to school at K-State and received a couple degrees from there, and then relocated to the Kansas City metro area and have worked with a lot of families that are in need. And I've done a lot of just community work and programming in the Wyandotte County community. I'm just happy to be a part of this.
No, we're not related. I've been a part of Wyandotte County's house too, so you might as well say I'm the original dot. I worked for the Unified Government Family Health for 22 years. And just wanted to join this committee. Community engagement volunteer.
Just found out the other meeting, I just decided to stop by. I'm interested in meeting people in the whole metropolitan area on both sides and in the state. Get into what's going on.
Thank you for being with us tonight, Mr. Long. Rob, I believe we have one ambassador who is joining us remotely this evening.
Yes, she is able to speak. Karen?
Hi, this is Karen Human. I just I guess earlier this year hit my 10-year anniversary as a Wyco Countyan. I moved from Kansas City, Missouri, and was delighted to be moving back into a community with publicly run utility. I grew up in McPherson, Kansas, where we also had one, at least back then. I don't know if they still do. I've been more and more involved in my neighborhood, and this seemed like another way to be able to learn more about what's going on in our community and be a conduit for communication between public service and my neighbors.
Senator Haley will acknowledge that you're here. We won't ask you for any input this evening, though. Okay. So I am the chair of this committee, and you know, number one, we want to welcome you all and thank you all for putting yourselves out there, being ambassadors on behalf of our community. I was born and raised here. I've been here almost my entire life. The one time I wasn't here when I was in my undergrad and then in law school. And I'm proud to still be a dot. So thank you guys for caring enough about our community to be here. Some of you have been in public service before tonight, and we thank you for continuing your public service through this effort. You know, we formed this committee earlier this year, and I think our resolution regarding the construct of this committee was, I think it was approved in May of this year. And you know, the purpose of this committee is that we've got members of this community who approach every single board member that we have. They approach the staff. They approach some of you guys as community leaders, and they bring to you specific issues that they have with BPU's policies, and how they may impact an individual, a resident, a business, small business in this community. And so what we wanted to try to do was offer our community through you and your ambassadorship, the ability to bring those issues that you guys are identifying in the community back to a subset of the board, which is Jeff and Mary and myself. So we can get them, prioritize them and get them back in front of the full board and either the appropriate committee, another committee, or the full board itself. And so that's sort of the purpose. You know, one of the things we're not gonna do is, I realize that some folks, you know, may have worked for BPU, and, you know, we're not gonna get into, HR issues, we're not gonna get into those types of issues. Because this is really about the community, right? It can't be about, one person's individual experience here. And so I wanted to make sure that we got that out there. Because we all want this committee to actually move issues forward and be able to, perhaps find some resolution that benefits the community as a whole. And I'm gonna stop there for a second because I want our other, board committee members to be able to also, you know, pitch in and talk about, you know, the purpose of the committee as well.
From my end of it is hearing more details about what's going on in the community that we may not know about. You know, we don't have necessarily the best avenues of communication in our city, but that doesn't mean that the board doesn't want to understand what's going on in the different neighborhoods. Because every part of town has its own unique concerns and issues, so you have to, like Rose said, we'll have to prioritize and look at where the lowest hanging fruit, where the best, you know, the biggest bang we can get right away and start making some changes that are noticeable to the residents.
Yeah, I would just like to, think that this is a group that we can positively move things forward. I know most of you know, we have open mic, at our meetings, and it's not very many people bring a positive way to make a change, or it's, you know, so I'm looking forward to the ideas that you have for positive growth and ways to make changes that are needed, and ways to get everybody's voices heard, not just angry people because their bill went too high. I want this to be a really positive experience as we hopefully move a lot of issues forward and find a way that we can work together.
Right. And just to add on to what both Jeff and Mary said, you know, I think we all agree that we want this to be a collaborative process, right? I mean, we don't know what we don't know as board members. And clearly we can't talk to everybody in the community. That's an impossibility. As many neighborhood meetings as you know, folks go to, and as many people as we all meet, most people, well, with me, they don't know who I am, and that's okay. Sometimes I prefer that, let's be honest. But, you know, but when they do know me and, you know, folks call me all the time, folks email me all the time about issues, and they know Jeff and Mary more because they've known the board a lot. And so they approach them in the community. You know, the one-offs, that's not gonna help us affect change, and that's something we're all really interested in. And one of the things that, the policy committee is undertaking right now is sort of a review of the customer service policies. And the customer service policies actually impact every single customer. Residents, small business, industrial customers, they affect everybody. And so that's something that our policy committee is undertaking. But I suspect that through our process with this committee, we're probably going to see some crossover between some of those issues, what I suspect. So, did you guys, I want to make sure you guys have an opportunity. Did you guys have any comments on sort of, I guess, why we are where we are?
I would like to ask, when we hear these,
Yeah.
do we come to the committee or to the board and on a Wednesday meeting or something like that, or do we come quarterly? How do we do that?
That's a great question, Norm. And I think what we're thinking is, if you guys can send, your issues, it looks like everybody has an email address. Is email an okay form of communication for everybody who's sitting at the table? Okay, everybody good with that? And Karen, you're online. Is that okay with you as well?
Oh, yes, that's perfect.
Right. And so I think what I'd ask you to do is the individual ambassador, if you would email, state the issue, however you need to state the issue that you're hearing, and email Jeff, Mary, and myself. And Angela.
Whenever we hear the concern.
Yeah, whenever you hear the concern. And what we're trying to do is identify trends, right? And, you may hear those in Stony Point, right? And, Michelle may hear those in her neighborhood group. It may be the same concern, maybe stated differently, but maybe the same concern. And so what we're trying to do is, in our effort to prioritize these, we want to be able to, if we're hearing this 4 different times, or whatever the number is, multiple times, we want to make sure we get that one prioritized to the top and see what we can do collaboratively, how we think we can solve it, right? And have a positive impact as a result of it. So does that work? Sure. Okay. Right. Jeff or Mary, did either of you have anything to add there?
Well, the only thing I would add in that would be, and sometimes, it's kind of what I tell when somebody calls, a resident calls me about an issue or something, is that board members that are timely to staff, another avenue of communication to staff, but at the end of the day, a concern, may not end up in a change. It may end up in an explanation of why something is the way it is, because not everything is necessarily, there are things that people don't like, but to run a business successfully, where we're there for the next generation, so things have to be done, so. But the biggest thing is also in those situations that you guys are able to carry the message back and explain to people why it is. They may not like it, but it is what it is what it is. Some things just have to be, certain policies have to be. So it's just a matter of, being a two-way road with communication.
Well, I was really bringing stuff, but one of the things that everybody talks about is right now is the pilot. And so I'm hoping that if there's any of you that don't understand it or know exactly how that part functions, that we can have a long discussion about that, and you can carry that information back to anybody, in your neighborhood or anybody you greet. And it's just, it's a bone of contention that's been there forever. And I'm sure at one of these meetings, we'll have a long discussion about that.
I'm sure mine's looking forward to that.
I mean, yeah, one of the big issues in my almost 2 years with the chief was explaining the pilot and why we have it. And I've got a whole essay. In fact, I think I have something Jeff you wrote. That's some years ago, right? So, and yeah, I understand it. I understand why. I equate it to most communities. They don't have the fiscal, they have franchise fees to charge. Big difference between our pilot fee and franchise fee is most franchise fees are 5%. Our pilot's 11%. That's the big issue.
That's the big issue.
But I was president of my homeowners association down in Brooklyn. And because I worked for the UG, they asked me that, you can eliminate pilot, but your property tax, well, probably 35 minutes. Right? Because I think the UG still thinks it was about 35.
Not less than 35 million.
So I don't know how you fix that. I mean, I can explain it to people, but
I don't think we can fix
Yeah,
it.
make it clear, we cannot fix the pilot.
None of us can fix it.
No.
Make sure we get that out.
No, I'm saying,
everybody is sitting at this table, I'm hoping we'll have a good understanding, so they can make that explanation just like you did, Mike.
Right.
Because yeah, it's just what weighs heavily on everybody's minds, especially during an election season. It's,
Well, and to Jeff's point, I mean, that's one right there where we can talk about it till we're blue in the face, but, you know, DPU doesn't, you have to put it on the bill and we have to collect it, but we don't impose it. And so that's not something this committee or this board can fix, right? And it's unfortunate, and, you know, there is, you know, we're moving in a direction. You guys have been on the board a long time, probably been moving this direction forever. To try to get unified government charges not billed on the same bill as our water, electric, everything, right? TBD on that, but it's a component of it for sure.
I've had discussions with your. Depending on, you gotta get the pilot off and you bill. And I didn't see how that made any sense, because it's really like the franchise fee, right? So it's based on usage. What could happen is quit charging the pilot on stormwater, trash, and the whole damn bill, just charge it on the water. But,
Not our,
no, I understand that,
I wish we could solve
The
it.
other thing is, and I will say, I think the way you guys have designed the bills, you guys did a revamp of it a year ago. Somebody actually looks at their bill, it's all explained to the full color, right? I mean, you got pie charts, you got graphs, I mean, it explains it. It's like I used to try to explain to people that on your tax bill, 56% of it is the school districts, it's not the UG. Well, if you look at your BPU bill, a lot of it is not anything to do with BPU's tax.
And the difference between the property tax and the other is that folks can get their utility shut off if they make that portion of the bill.
Right.
And so that, you know, we hear that a lot, and, you know, that's not true.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to open a can of worms.
Right out of the gate, very good knowledge. Because bring up the pilot, I like it. Go ahead, Norm.
Just to kind of dissect some of what's going on with the pilot. Yeah, it's on the bill, but nobody really reads the bill. I mean, what they do, they look at the bottom line, it's $199 or something like that. I don't like to text that. I have explained. Just turn the bill over, it'll tell you what all the KWs and all that stuff stand for. But they really don't know what that means. So if you've got a group or a person or something within BPU to go to a neighborhood meeting and explain that, I think that would be a big help. I mean, I've been explaining it and it puts fire out for a while. Somebody else says, oh, no, didn't do KWs or something, you know. So
That's a good suggestion, Norm.
just explaining the bill is. Not that it hadn't been explained 146 times, but I don't know where you stop at.
I do think the difficulty is, and like I said, when I would do my basic budgeting classes, I would make that copy because it was saved, you know, you did an amazing job of doing exactly what you're saying, explaining that. But when you have a person that's on a certain income, and when you're looking at that area and you're looking at trash has gone up, and then you're looking at your abatement, then you're looking at pilot, and you know, you're getting all those things. So it's not just one piece of it. I know a lot of people, they kind of linger on the pilot, but you got all these pieces too, and then you have your bill. You know, so I think so we can explain and explain, but until we have families that are making that income that can support their usage, it's always going to be a debate, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we can explain, and I've done that since I've pretty much been involved with, you know, basic budgeting education, and I've been in my position for 23 years. And it's like I said, and it's a part of it, but I just wish there was a way for the families that cannot afford They're not living, they're not making that living wage. And it's easy when you make the money and then you're still concerned about, oh, whatever, but when you don't have that money, I think that's, and I think we're dealing with more of that population than we are the ones that can afford it. And you kind of grovel in the back and be like, oh, okay, well, I really don't want to pay that bill or whatever, but you know, they can pay it. And they don't want the risk of getting those utilities turned off. So I think it's a mindset that is gonna have to occur at some level, and support that's gonna have to happen at some point. And I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's a state or a federal initiative. I know like, I'm on a board in Missouri where they have light heat, you know, and it just seems like, and so there's like Evergy and all these other utility companies that are working along with this process, but it seems like they are going out and doing more of that, like you said, that networking and saying, and yeah, and opening up their doors and saying, you know, yeah, you can come over here, and because it makes sense because you have this organization that's going to give them funds to pay those bills. So it's just so that it's more of a workable relationship. And I just don't, and I wish that we had something, and I know you talk about DCF and they talk about the LEAD project that they have there, but and I know it's all based on income, but it just seems like, and I can only speak for my affiliation with this other group. But it just seems like those other organizations they're really making a big effort to make sure that people are aware of this funding and making it very easy for people to access that funding, if that makes sense.
It does. I appreciate that.
No, yeah, can I ask a question? I mean, just a general consensus from you guys, and this is a concern that I've heard people talk about, economic development being given out to companies coming in. What do you guys think of the idea that any company that's receiving economic development grant or awards of some type, TIF district or something, have to hire a certain percentage of Wyandotte County residents? Because I think, you know, I've lived here my entire life, and what I see is my city has the highest paying jobs, but they're not held by the people who live there. So how do we bring up those that are already residents of our cities? How do we get those into that job that does bring up that living wage? But I know that that's a sticking point often in economic development when you start making requirements like that. The company has to hire 15% from within the borders of Wyandotte County. But I think that it's also creating a partnership with the company that they understand they're a true partner of the community. I'd love to hear what you guys think about it.
I'll speak to it quickly. You're talking about two things. Economic development is one thing, and bringing outside people into it. Every trade has an apprentice program, and all the people have to do is sign up for it. It's free. It's a very good program. Ours is 3 years, some are 4, some are 5. And these people you don't have to go outside. They're right here. And there's nothing wrong with what they're doing. So that's where I would go. There's no reason not to take advantage of that. And the other part is the home rule, which I don't know that I'm in favor of it or not in favor of it. I understand the purpose of it, and I think you say the money should stay here. When it's earned here, it should stay here. But we've got all kinds of people coming into this town from every little burg out there, and I would suggest an earnings tax. I mean,
you can't get that through that state.
Well, it's not hard to get through in Missouri.
I didn't, oh God. Maybe.
I mean,
I mean, you're losing that income. If you're gonna have a home rule, you need to have the workforce here. If you don't have the workforce, then you gotta train them. If you can't train them, then you still got these people coming in here and working. And they all know what an earnings tax is, 0.5%, 3/8. Start anywhere.
Probably a decade ago, I managed to get a hearing in front of the House Tax Committee and pitched this very idea. And I looked around the room at the committee and I saw representatives from Johnson County, Johnson County. I thought, there's no way they're gonna support this because the Johnson County people work here. We got our hearing, it didn't go anywhere. It's a tough sell.
Oh, I agree.
Very
It's a
hard
tough sell.
to get that. But
Life is not easy.
So would you be though in favor of, like, there are companies that come to the BPU specifically to ask for economic development dot. If they're, where most of them would offset fees that they would have to pay, and at the end of the day, I always look at them on what are they giving back into the community? How many jobs are they providing?
Well, it's good business.
Or what they're doing. I mean, that's part of economic development is to grow, but it's supposed to be a part of it. So I'm just wondering, if all of a sudden we weren't getting any economic development opportunities to put a requirement in like that, but did upset them.
I don't know if it would upset people, but I've been a part of the Wyandotte County Employment Consortium for quite a while. And I think because of the school system now, even the Kansas Public School and even Piper, they're going to more of these skill-based models. So I think to your point with apprenticeships and things of that nature, I think those are happening. The Kansas Community College Tech Center, they're doing a remarkable job in working with local businesses and doing those apprenticeships. So I think that it will happen. I think it's just going to be a matter of time. But like I've said this since I've been here, we just have this thing called the working poor. We have families out here that are working and they are working 2 and 3 jobs and they don't have insurance and they don't have these things. And it's just really hard. It's really hard to balance having affordable housing and then being able to deal with the utilities. In some of the places where they're living, if you would go in there, and like I said, that's part of my job. I do a lot of home visits and help them try to keep their houses together and cleaning clutter-free type things. And you go in there and just I don't know how some of them can even legally live there. And so it's just not just economically safe for them to be there. And also you go in there and there's holes in the window sills, you can feel the air. So if air's coming in, it's going out. And so again, going back, and I know BPU over the years have done a lot of good information out there on trying to get these homes to be more energy efficient and things that I think it's gonna have to, there's just gonna have to be multiple fixes as we go through. We need to have more energy efficient homes. And we also need to have folks that can afford where they're living and they can afford to pay the utilities. That's really that needs to happen. But I think what you're talking about, the economic development, I think it is happening. I think it's coming. I think it's going to be a matter of time. I say probably we're going to start seeing more since the school districts are kind of turning to those models. Probably, I think we'll probably see a trend probably in the next 5 to 7 years. I personally believe that. But I think it's happening. It's just that we have to have all these other facets that need to make everything complete. It's not just a BPU thing, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's all of these pieces and everything. It's all the neighborhood associations going through and holding everybody accountable and holding these landlords accountable and making sure these homes are safe and they are efficient to live in it. Because that's the bottom line. I don't care where you live. My house is 100 years old. And it's not perfect, but it's so just trying to make sure, but I'm doing all the things that I can to kind of make sure it is as efficient as possible. So, like I said, it's definitely multifaceted. And if I think working together and so maybe this is a start to have these conversations and to look at these things so that we can also find who else is missing, how can we just kind of branch this out so things can get better for everyone.
Yeah, I think to your point, I heard this a lot when I was at UG. I think there's a sense that companies take advantage of the UG and BPU with incentives. That either we don't negotiate a tough enough deal, and I saw this happen over and over, they get a tax break. And then when it's time for the tax break to go away, they appeal to the Board of Tax Appeals and say, you know what? Our $12 million building is only really worth $2 million. So they cheat us on taxes on that. I'm just glad to see that just this week, you saw the news about Cerner. They promised to hire 1,000 people, they haven't come anywhere close to that. And finally, the governor had to get involved, I know Eugene was trying too, it was going on, honestly. And the company that was, well, they're gonna pay $70 million in penalties because they never met the obligations that they promised. So I think that is a concern on that side. Hear it all the time. We're giving away way too much.
Well, and I don't even think, I mean, to me, I'm afraid it's a difficult sell to some people that you have to hire to change from within. But I don't know, I just see that it as a conversation that's a, it's more of a partnership. I just don't know how many companies we would get.
They're hiring our people, it's just, we gotta maintain.
Yeah.
You know, it's really, you know, some of these technical areas, you know, we have to have the expertise to maintain. And then we have all these other facets like transportation that they're also trying to, that's why I keep, when I'm saying multifaceted, you know, we gotta look at transportation, we gotta look at childcare, we gotta look at all of these factors that are happening. And so if we wanna get people to work in these high paying jobs, we have to they can go to work, you know, they can work different places, but they still have to get to those places. And they have to make sure that they can make it on time so they can maintain the job. You don't know how many stories I hear, they'll get employed and then because for whatever reason, transportation or childcare or whatever life happens, and then they can't maintain it. So the first thing's gonna go is not paying your utilities.
Yeah.
You know, that's the first thing that's gonna happen.
And we have limited public transportation.
And that was one of the things I was going to mention too. Transportation is very important, but to your point, you also have to have an infrastructure or a center of excellence, depending on what sectors you have in front. Because, for example, if it's a technical or a technology sector, you might not have enough folks here in the county to fill those jobs. I mean, case in point, the capital of North Carolina didn't have sufficient folks to fill some of the positions for their Medicaid. Thus, here I am living in Kansas, but fulfilling a project management position for North Carolina Medicaid. They probably wanted to have a North Carolinian in that position, but they couldn't find someone to fill their needs. So again, being able to have an infrastructure and to support the particular positions that a certain company would have would also fit in too.
And also to Chiquita's point about trying to heat homes that have cracks and broken windows, that is something I know the utility has worked in the past on those, and I think we've got something going on right now with that.
Well, and there's even, a brand new federal program that's not been implemented yet, but this is gonna be a straight to consumer, assistance program that, really straight to consumer contractor, right? So hopefully there's very little out of the consumer pocket to work on these very things for the homes to try to make them more energy efficient. And the feds are giving up $14,000 per home. And it's not been implemented because the staff just went through that program with us, maybe 2 weeks ago. So I know we have your emails here. I'm going to send you that presentation. I have ran into another community member last week and he was asking about something like that. And luckily we just came off that information, but again, it has all the information you would need. It's just not given.
It's great. And I had several people that qualified for the last program we had it. I think that one was through the state. Trace, that was through the state, and they got new windows, got new HVAC. They really worked for a lot of, for a lot of folks. So like I say, any of those programs, getting to like me, a lot of those things are timely, and you have to qualify and make sure that you're in a situation. Again, really working with the neighborhood associations to get that information out so that people that really need it can take advantage of it, I think will be very positive, especially coming from, BPU, that they can share that kind of information. Because we have a lot, I live in Douglas, Sumner, right down the road. And, we have a lot of old homes. And so those programs are needed. And it's like, what do you do? So it's nice. I'm glad that something else is coming down the pike.
Purpose of the committee just went off the rails. But it's okay, because, this is a really valuable discussion. And again, we appreciate your guys' input into all of this. We've got some really good ideas that have been thrown out already, really good information, so. We do have to talk about logistics, because we know this meeting sort of crept up on everyone. Not as much time, advance notice of this that I would have liked, so, apologies for that. But, the resolution for this committee indicates that we're gonna have meetings on a quarterly basis. We do have certainly the latitude to have those meetings more frequently as the need dictates. And so the first thing I think we need to try to do is to get quarterly dates for 2024. And, I don't care if that's the, next Wednesday of, the third month, second month, whatever it is. I'm open to suggestions on all of that. I know everyone has a million other things going on. Obviously, we would want to avoid the meeting times that would conflict with our actual board meetings too. In terms of first and third Wednesday. We can have them on that day, but I feel like this particular committee is going to need a little bit more time. Certainly welcome to put them on Wednesdays as well. So I open that up for discussion, recommendations, suggestions.
We had one person that couldn't make it in person tonight. Today is a Monday. Quiet night, or is it normally sometimes you have something else?
All right with me.
Monday works best for me.
Can't you? Is it on Wednesday?
Moving on for everybody?
Yes.
For me, and if I know in advance, it becomes that spot of the county.
Michelle, is there something else on Monday? There's Monday.
Block it out, especially this our Friday. That's our new maintenance, hopefully we'll work better. Karen, Mondays, are they an okay day for you as well at this time?
Yes, they are.
Real no, I acknowledge.
All right.
It's good to be.
Okay, so Mondays at 6:30.
We want to do the fourth Monday?
When the fourth Monday.
Or the fourth Monday right now? You don't want to do a fifth Monday because Monday.
So because we're gonna have a little bit of time here, and I know that we're all creeping up on Halloween and then the rest of the year, a little shock because of holiday. January 22nd. And then we want to move that and go with April 22nd. Go the first month of the next quarter.
Is that the fourth Monday?
I'm not very good at math, but I did look at that one.
So we should communicate before those dates. And then we'll talk about some of the issues or file the information, see where the hotspots are.
Right. And we'll distribute that back out to the community, to the ambassadors, to make sure that you guys see sort of where we're at. We want everyone to see the issues that have been brought to us, right? And obviously you guys are gonna see the trends just like we're gonna see the trends, because we want this to be flat. It's literally every fourth Monday and 22nd, and July 22nd.
It's like that sometimes, yeah, that's how I'm gonna look at it, like.
July
yeah.
2nd. That's easier on my brain.
I know, right?
October 21st.
Wow.
Okay, so those are the dates, we'll set in stone, January 22nd, April 22nd, July 22nd, and October 21st. And as we, I suspect that between January and April, and again, we appreciate your guys' indulgence with this, because we are trying to, we don't know how this is gonna work, right? We are doing the best we can to try to do something different than we've done before to try to get community input. And so we may need another meeting in there. We'll try not to do a meeting at the last minute, but I think as long as everyone can sort of see, and I don't care if you guys bring these things to us next week, right? Or bring something to us next week, or each of you bring something to us December, 22nd. That's fine. We have to look at what these issues are that you guys are seeing out there, hearing out there from folks in the community, if that makes sense.
And another thing, if it's something that, is beyond our expertise, if it's something
Yes.
from, community, customer service, if we know in advance, we can get staff here to answer questions, or for you to just have one-on-one staff here, so. Kind of, whatever you're hearing, if a staff person is involved, we can get better answers, hopefully. Yep.
Okay, and, I've got here in-person attendance and remote attendance. I mean, there's gonna be times where, some of us might have to be remote, right? I mean, I saw the day job unfortunately, so I may find myself having to, so we're both tasked in any given day, and so may Jeff, and so, I'm fine having remote attendance. I know we don't have microphones around this room. This is being recorded, public can attend it. I have no idea. Karen obviously can hear us though, so that's a good, is it because I'm really loud, Karen? Yeah.
Actually, the sound is a little in and out, so I'm getting about 70% of what people are saying probably.
Okay, fair enough. And we can maybe work to address that issue going forward as well. So, everybody okay with in-person attendance? Obviously, notwithstanding the pandemic, if the pandemic comes up again, you'll have to go all remote. But everybody's good with that. Not really. Okay. And so, one of the last things, and I do want to keep us timely tonight as well, community identified issues. And so this is the term that we've spoken about this a little bit, but this is the actual term that's in the construct for this community, right? We want the ambassadors to bring to the board members on this community engagement committee the issues identified in the community. And we talked about some of them here tonight, and, I think you guys have the gist of what we're looking for here. And, there could be a wide range of this, right? I've told you what we don't want to hear, right? So we don't want to hear, there's other venues for, employee concern. That's not what this committee is here to do. So are there any questions about what community identified issues are? Awesome. Bill, you had actually, why don't I go ahead and, I haven't haven't deferred you all night tonight, so. I know that's odd, but,
That's all right.
normally I turn meetings over to you, but.
Well, so, I guess I would request this, quickly, I never want to put myself or staff in front of any time the board wants to communicate with something the public wants to communicate. There are times where, if I'm listening, I may have some answers that I can, to the committee, they, I'll be quick.
Well, you know,
So,
I mean, like, you can take it back or you can be.
With Jeff, when it comes to economic development, I would say, if you look at that and developer, to try to get firms that are building businesses in one county to be able to, and these higher from the county. And there is a certain 15% ratio or somewhere around there that they try to. Okay, the challenge with that, and Amazon is a perfect example of that, okay? So Amazon did meet those requirements. But Amazon came back and said, you can't maintain that over a certain period of time. All the issues that was already talked about came up. What UG tried to do was work on a public transportation system just to get to the Amazon campuses. Mike, I don't know where that is at,
It comes through Turner every morning, but now the bridges are around.
Well, but it's a public transit system, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and so one thing I was thinking about is, I don't know if I'm literally thinking of something that's not real or not. But I have to believe that a company like Google actually would provide transit to their employees.
Right.
And that's a good, right, and I have to be honest with you.
Slaps barbecue does.
Well, and that's the thing I had in my head, I'm like, I know Slaps does, and they understand how valuable that is,
Yeah.
to have your people there, right?
Yeah.
And like the fact that maybe we couldn't, entice Amazon to do so, I mean, that would be really helpful to them, to the employees, the whole deal, so I just. I mean, some employers choose it.
So, energy efficiency, we are and do plan on getting as much information packaged up as we can to make the public aware of where all this funding is. I already talked about that a little bit earlier. Just today, I was invited to a meeting over Unified Government, Representative Shane Davis. Sarah Haley was there as well, and we did talk about energy efficiency programs. And I've asked her to get more involved with the state level to make sure that these programs are working to the best of its ability. At least coming now that they've been earmarked to the states, make sure the states are actually getting them to the people that need them. Not put too many barriers between the state offices and the general public, so that people can actually receive the money that's going to not make a difference for their homes. So that conversation is good place today. And I do plan on continuing having those conversations with the NDC in 3 months. And then that conversation will continue on and on and on. The chief acting doing the task force here in Kansas across her district to try to figure out what are the things that you guys are working on in terms of getting the federal funding, the IRA funding, some of the others into your community, because she would hate to see that those dollars go elsewhere, and then we don't take advantage of the dollars that are there. So those are other conversations that are taking place. DP charges a meeting with the mayor and county administrator on Wednesday. Hopefully that'll do some final understanding on my part on how they're going to separate the bill. I already asked them. We're talking about that on Wednesday. Whatever comes by that meeting, I'll report back. Finally, just to go on what I said earlier, certainly don't want to put ourselves and staff in between your conversations with the board, but as you think about concerns, be concerned with critical emergency type concerns. Don't wait for another committee meeting. Okay, if there's something that we need to act on immediately, let us know, and we'll do the best of our job and try to take care of those concerns. But I'm still okay if you let us know, and then you still want to follow with the board after that. I'm okay with that, because I want to make sure that you guys are holding us accountable as well. But if there's
emergency thing we need to act on, critical thing we need to act on. We don't put us in a position where we can't do anything about it either, so you also just have that understanding that you can always pick up the phone, you can always call. You can call my office, go to my executive assistant and contact me, you know, try to get on with something about that.
Thank you, Bill. 6 minutes until the meeting ends. I would be remiss if I did not at least give you an opportunity if you had any words at all you wanted to add to. I appreciate you attending, for one.
Madam Chair, members, I'm just here to listen and learn. And those whom I haven't met, thank you for being a part. Those who I have met, thank you for being a part of this critical process. It's something that's been long desired. And those I haven't met, I'm David Haley, member of the board, and fly on the wall here to listen and learn. And again, sincerely appreciative that we're having this college week. Thank you for the opportunity, Madam Chair.
So thank you, Bill. Thank you, David, both for that. And I certainly, and I'm sure Jeff and Mary do as well. We echo what Bill said. I mean, if there's something obviously of an emergent nature, don't wait. I mean, we'll certainly send our roster around. We've got everybody's numbers and email shared amongst this group. And you know, don't hesitate, obviously.
Think you've ever done like, you know how Little Neighborhoods has the little monthly meetings? Have they ever done like just a one-on-one? I think a lot of folks just don't know basic things. Like I'll give an example. When my street light was out or whatever. So I'm thinking I'm calling, doing my due diligence and saying my address or whatever, but there was a little element that was missed. I need to give them that number that was on that pole, but I never knew that. I was just thinking, oh, I just do my address or whatever. So I just wonder if to be a little bit more transparent and they do offer Little Neighborhoods, and usually the neighborhood associations are all there. And even if it was just like BPU 101, to your point about explaining about the pilot and explaining about these basic things, like if your street light is out, please give them that pole number. It may work a little bit faster for you if they know that, but just kind of like just a BPU 101, you know, but I mean, you can call 311. I know a lot of people do call 311. They do, or whoever, or they call the BPU number or whatever too. So, but like to Mary's point, I think we need to highlight things that are really good. I know when the lights were going out a few times, it was really nice to call the system and get in and have them call you back. And it's really nice when you hear that phone call. It's like, yeah, I think your lights are out. Like, yeah, they are. And we appreciate it so much. Thank you so much. But it's little things like that. I mean, that have become so efficient. And I think that needs to be recognized because it really is helpful to know or whatever. And they will call and it's like, we think your lights are on, and then they may not be on, and then, you know, but then they'll keep, you know, it'll keep coming through until you do that. So those little wins are really good things to have. No one wants their utilities off, for the record, ever, you know.
On your account, do you have your mobile number associated with
yes.
your account? Do you get any text messages?
Yeah, and sometimes I know, and I think the last time, I don't think before I even called, I think they was calling me. I think is that possible? Am I making that up? No. Did they call me to tell me that my utilities were out or whatever? I think, yeah. So I was like, yeah.
I actually had that happen while I was out of town.
Yeah, I'm like, you're getting a little too efficient here.
Wow.
Well, a little bit brother, but no.
That's right. No, that's what Mary's saying though. We need to celebrate those good things that are happening. Not that it's, you know.
We celebrate the first and third Wednesday of the month.
Okay, good. But the community is not celebrating. They're not happy. I'm celebrating and I'm excited about it.
No, I do appreciate that. Yeah, and you make a good point. BPU 101. I know BPU long before I came on this board has made all of these kinds of attempts, you know, around the community. And you know, you guys know, I mean, the neighborhood groups are probably the best thing that we can utilize in the day. Because folks attend those groups, right? They don't attend a lot of other things.
Are they going to come and talk to that group before they're going to talk to their neighborhood association person probably before they even call a BPU or somewhere else? They're going to be talking, and then that person can also be an ally and say, hey, have you tried this? Or, you know, because I've told everybody about numbers on that poll, I think everybody that will listen, they all know now. You call in and say those numbers. So we learn, and we just have to, we're all in this together. So let's just do the best we can to make it better for everyone here.
No, I appreciate that.
And I think with cold weather approaching, it might be good for all of you who are leaders in your neighborhood groups to have that list of assistance, of places you can go if you have someone that you know needs assistance with their bill in these cold times. So just having that whole list, I don't know how many organizations are on there, but sometimes just the stipulations that you need to know for getting assistance too is helpful. So we might pass that list out and maybe, so if you have a neighborhood group that you're involved with, you can let them know.
And that's another element too that's happening. It's when they do provide assistance, they can only provide so much. You know, so a person that really needs that help. So I mean, they need to be larger amounts so they can help people and really make a difference. So if people can, so I don't know if that's even in BPU's wheelhouse or someone that can advocate for that, Mike here, or whatever, can add, to increase those dollars, because, I mean, 200 might be something, but when you have an $800 or $1,000 bill, that's not gonna make that much of a difference, and it's not gonna stop you from getting your utilities turned off. So I just wish that there was some advocacy around that piece of it too, that,
Hoping that Bill mentioned to Sharice Davids and her task force about the utility
Bill.
universal service that we need so desperately here in KCK.
Good job, Bill.
Well, I mean, again, we've seen this work in other industries that are utility related,
And
and we've not seen it in our. We see one time assistance, we don't see continued assistance, we just don't.
Yeah, well, and I got thinking about another conversation I had with you, said, no, we're still jointly billing our customers, okay? All the money that goes towards utility system comes from BPU. I would only know one other time that the unified government made any attempts to put money into a utility system program. And that came towards some federal funding where they did everything else they wanted. Until the very end, carved out a smaller amount, because the utility systems that was after some of us, and United Way made that leap to them. Otherwise, I'm not sure that would happen yet.
Well, and I think you would agree, I mean, it's not enough. What we do is not enough. UG could, even if they had money, which we're going bankrupt that year, so they don't. And so there's not enough money there. There just isn't. And so I don't know how we solve it, but I'm gonna push for utility universal service until the day I die. So, because people need perpetual help. They just do. And some people need that. Right. Then there was some parts. Okay, anything else before we adjourn for this evening in the first meeting?
I have one question just to clarify our role. So it clearly wants to be conduits
Yes.
of information. You also do that you become advocate.
You feel like you want to be an advocate? Sure. I look at other board members,
I'm both an advocate and a critic of utility, because, I see the good that it's done, and it does, but I also see the potential. We should never, none of us should ever stop working on improving our city.
I don't like,
Yeah. I mean, I just, the phrase ambassador, but
it was very legal.
again, my experience with UG was, I was always viewed as defending the UG, even if I was just explaining, here's the way something works, right? But I was actually. So.
Yeah, and I'm certainly not asking anyone here to go and spend anything. I mean, really, we just want factual information out there. Because there's a lot of factual information that we have that's on the website or whatever, that's not getting back to the community, right? And so people don't know to go get the phone number and what the street light. But it's true.
I'm not the only one in America, in this town that didn't know that. I
No,
mean-
there's one. I'll have to ask, or just the address.
I didn't.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I feel better.
You know,
It's on the pole.
You know, you don't mind when I-
It's pretty, you're tall as me, so you can see it. You
my
can see
thing
it.
is, bathroom, you guys, I took that to mean that you were actually ambassadors of the country, of the community,
Okay.
coming to us and saying, hey, this information is pumped down through us to this committee, so that, we're getting, like, I go to neighborhood meetings in mine, but there's only so many neighborhood groups that are even meeting
Meeting
before
now.
some COVID,
Yeah.
it really took a number. So it's like, how do we gauge the temperature of our city as it pertains to the people?
Years ago, the BP used to have, there was like a donation, was it called Dollar? What was it called?
Yeah.
Because I know she's been around here for a while.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a dollar thing, yeah, you could round up.
Yeah, so is it gone? I do everything online now, so.
It's
is
no
it-
longer in existence.
It's no longer, how long has that been gone?
Several years.
It quite a while.
So, know that there's been some attempt to recreate that.
Okay.
Okay.
Please. I mean, I know people already kind of heated, but for the ones that are like bleeding hearts out here that might have a spare dollar, might want to do it.
Made easy. Like a roundup, to round to the next whole $5 increment,
Anytime any of you giving your money, I tell K-State that all the time. I said, you guys make it very hard for me to give you my money. You need to make it very
Yeah,
easy
just
for
do-
me to give
just
you my
make it
money. I need a
round.
button, or like you said, or whatever. I need something very simple to
Yep.
give my money.
Yep.
Very simple.
Yeah.
So I agree.
Anything else?
That was it. I was just thinking when I was looking at Bill, and I'm always looking side eye at Keith back there, but I just remembered that, But like I said, I'm online now, so I don't get the paper. And I thought I used to see that, so. I'm done.
That's all free, so there's a lot of which don't cost the BP. What process?
That's why I figured that if we give you like a roundup, it's minimal cost to the utility, because it's already on a charge that's happening. You're already paying for the charge, so.
And they already reduced, well, you mean from BPU, but I know there used to be a charge when you did pay online, but they removed that.
Well, no, the BPU pays.
Well, you know what I mean, I get it, but it's still not, it's nice that I'm not paying that. It makes me psychologically feel better that I'm not paying that extra fee to pay online, so, but yeah,
So we are.
yeah. Oh, yeah, somebody's gotta pay it.
We are.
Yeah, someone's gotta pay it, but I get it, but it's still nice for me not to see it
Well, I
extra,
understand, it's right at the time, not bad.
just like a lot. All right.
All right, we will adjourn tonight's meeting. Again, we sincerely appreciate everyone attending, a little short notice, appreciate that. I've got these dates out. We'll follow up, send an email out to the distribution list, with some notes of tonight's meeting and certainly those dates. So everybody can get them on their calendars and we can move forward with this committee and hopefully trying to do some good. All right, thank you guys, appreciate it. Thanks, Karen.
Thanks. I wish I could have been there.
See you in the future.
January.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks.